I've called this the Dance of the Seven Veils precisely because this is not the beginning of the end of the Labour splinter story, it's merely the end of the beginning. Just by chance, Peter Kyle, the Brighton Blairite MP, happened to be in the Sky News studio watching his 7 friends, as he put it, ditching the Labour Party in circumstances in which they hope to do the most harm to the possibility of bringing this Tory government down and replacing it with a Labour government. He's gone off to reflect, he said, on whether or not he should join them. If you believe that, I've got a bridge in London that I could sell to you, going cheap. There's a whole raft of rats who are about to jump ship, and they hope it will sink that ship. I happen to believe that that ship will be the more resplendent for being rid of them. Now, I was there when the Gang of Four split the Labour Party in 1981. As a matter of fact, I actually defeated Roy Jenkins and dumped him on his well-upholstered posterior out of the House of Commons in 1987. But I've got to say this, the Gang of Four had heft, had gravitas, had political history, already had left their political footprint in the British political sands. The same cannot be said for the 7 dwarves on parade this morning. There is much that can be said, and I'll be on the Jeremy Vine show at 12 noon saying more. There is much that can be said about the motivation and the rationale given by the 7 dwarfs for their leaving. Some of them were more honest than others. Chris Leslie, for example, made it clear that he believed that Labour had made impossible promises to the people in the highly successful Labour election manifesto of 2017. He said that Labour's promises could not be afforded by the economy. Well, that was, I think, an honest statement by a supporter of the economic status quo, because, of course, Jeremy Corbyn's programme can only be afforded if there are radical changes in the British economy. If the rich pay more for living in Britain in the way that they have been dodging doing over many, many decades. Jeremy Corbyn's programme can only be afforded if there's a redistribution of wealth and ownership of the British economy. And Corbyn thinks that that is justified, so do I. Chris Leslie doesn't, and people like him never have, because they don't, for all the talk of change that they gave us in their press conference, they don't actually want any fundamental change in Britain. Others were lying. Luciana Berger, for example, that we were told just last weekend could not have to face a motion of no confidence in her constituency Labour Party because she was in the 9th month of pregnancy. It turns out that in the 9th month of pregnancy, she was openly planning a breakaway from her party. And Tom Watson, the deputy leader of the party, must now be regretting, I presume, coming so stoutly to her defence. Sorry, Tom, I know you're not quite as stout as you used to be, but he stoutly defended her and attacked the local constituency Labour Party for harassing a woman who was 9 months pregnant. Well, it didn't stop her today rolling out the foul, poisonous lie that the Labour Party and Jeremy Corbyn and those around him, as she said, and I know who they are anti-Semitic. This is one of the greatest, grossest defamations in history, in all political history. Jeremy Corbyn and those around him have fought racism, fought anti-Semitism all of their lives, long before she was even born. Here's something the TV didn't tell you. All 7 of these dwarfs are closely associated with an organisation called the Labour Friends of Israel. So their concern is not anti-Semitism, it's anti-Israelism. Their concern is not that Jews in Britain or anywhere else in the world are hated, discriminated against, subject to bigotry and foul anti-Semitic abuse and behavior, because of course all of us are against that. Their concern is that Jeremy Corbyn recognizes the Palestinian people and the great injustice, indeed the great crimes to which they have been subjected. That's what it's about for those seven, not anti-Semitism, anti-Netanyahuism. Their concern is not anti-Semitism, it's support for the Palestinian people. And that is all that Corbyn has ever been guilty of, if guilty is the correct word. Now, elsewhere they talked about Brexit. Far from being a democratic breakaway, these people are the sharp end of the most anti-democratic manoeuvre seen in Britain, possibly ever, certainly since universal suffrage. They were part of a parliament that voted to give the British people the right to vote on whether or not to leave the European Union, and promised to respect the result. Every one of them voted to trigger Article 50 when the British people decided they wanted to leave the EU. Now they're trying to thwart the decision of the British people in that referendum. Now they want to abort the decision to leave the European Union, to spit in the face of 17.4 million people, and in so doing, by the way, set in motion tremendously dangerous political forces grouped around the slogan, "They've stabbed us in the back." The worst possible thing for social peace in Britain would be a political elite of which they are perfect, quintessential examples, to stab the British people's decision to leave the EU in the back. Who would be the beneficiaries of that? I'll leave you to work out. Now, when one door closes, another one opens. So you're the first to know that I have today written to the Labour Party's General Secretary, Jenny Formby, and formally asked her to place before the requisite committees of the National Executive of the Labour Party to set aside my unfair, unjust, and now ridiculous expulsion from the Labour Party by Tony Blair at the time of the Iraq War. I hope that that will be supported by people who agreed with me on Iraq or didn't, who agree with me on Palestine or didn't. I hope that it will be supported by people who recognize that I have a big voice and a big reach in British society and indeed further afield. And that unlike the seven dwarfs who ditched the Labour Party today, I believe in Labour. I loved the Labour Party much more than those who kicked me out of it ever loved it. Indeed, they're the people who almost killed it. Jeremy Corbyn has brought it back to life. So, watch this space. There will be others leaving, but like me, I hope there will be others joining. Tune in to the Jeremy Vine Show at noon on BBC Radio 2 to hear more. Thanks for watching.